The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh, got my hustle on, no imitation of bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off-season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throb in my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too feeble and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Earnestly podcast coming to you May 4th, Sunday morning, early Sunday morning, 2025. It is a solo episode here. I want to get to, I had actually originally planned on recording a instant reaction podcast last night following the Clippers Nuggets game 7, which we saw, of course, the Nuggets advanced second round of the playoffs, defeating the Clippers. What was it like? It ended up being like 22 points I think it was, or 19 points, whatever it was. But that game got out of hand in the third quarter. And then I got home for my my birthday party a little later than I thought, and by the time I got my kid to sleep, I was like, oh well, I'm tired. And then I didn't hear from the Degenerate. Zach Degenerate was supposed to come on the show, but that was not a definitive thing. So I figured, you know what? Let me come on here and react to some of the things going on in the NBA playoffs. We still got a game 7 tonight between the Warriors and the Rockets. I'm looking forward to that game, of course. And this is the last game of the first round. Of course, we'll have some predictions on my end in a couple of minutes here. And I don't want to spend too much time here on the show, which, by the way, you can subscribe to on any podcast catcher on the audio side. But on the video side, you guys know we do have Earnest Speaking Podcast has its own YouTube channel. So check it out, of course, at youtube.com/@EarnSpeakPod. Of course, at TikTok as well, too. EarnSpeakPod on TikTok for clips of the show. We have also updated recently the Instagram page also for the podcast at EarnSpeakPod on Instagram, of course, and all that good stuff. Like I said, I don't want to spend too much time here today on this. Just kind of touch a couple of some of the things that's happened the last couple of days. We tend to do these Sunday podcasts once in a while. It's kind of a sort of not really regular thing. It depends how I'm feeling. Obviously, the weekends for my family. So, but if I have like a couple minutes to get away to throw out some, topics and things to talk about, I'll do so. But yeah, I thought last night's game would be a little more competitive. I'm not surprised Denver won. I had Clippers in six games before the series started. Okay, let's be clear about that. I had Clippers in 6 when the series started because I thought when Denver comes to the playoffs struggling, they fire Mike Malone and their GM literally 4 games before the season ends. You figure, okay, all that chaos going on, there's no way in hell they're gonna be able to turn it on. And then on top of that, the Clippers came to the playoffs red hot. They came in red hot. I think I won 8 games in a row coming to the playoffs, something of that nature. But as you guys know, the playoffs is a different animal, and it exposes who you really are when you're able to adjust. This series changed really in game 4. And I'll say it again. When Aaron Gordon had that tap in dunk at the end of game 4, which won the game for the Nuggets, that tap in dunk at the buzzer, had that not gone in, that game would have gone to overtime. And I'm convinced the Clippers would have won that game 4. I could be wrong, but I'm convinced Denver would have lost that game, be down 3-1, and we'll have a different conversation today. But I feel like that game 4 broke the brains. And this is why I love the playoffs, too, especially because it's a game of inches, number one. Every basket is magnified. Every possession is magnified. And then on top of that, the emotions change. So how you are able to recover from a loss like that can ultimately write the story of how your team does moving forward. I think the Clippers were never the same team after that. Even though they did win game 6, they were. I never felt that they had a chance. Because I felt that the longer the series went, Denver had a better advantage because again, Jokic is doing Jokic things. Although Jokic hasn't been played a phenomenal. He didn't play that great in Game 7, which is the crazy part because the last two games Denver won. For example, Jokic didn't play all that great. Jokic, I said that by his standards. Like for Game 7, for example, Jokic has 16 points, 10 boards, 8 assists. Obviously, filling the stats there, but it wasn't a typical Jokic game. Let me see. Game 5 when they won, I believe. I'm looking at it right now real quick. Game 5 when they won on Tuesday. Jokic, was that the big game he had? No, yeah, he had 13, 10, and 12 in Game 5. Again, by his standards, not great, but of course, he got help. Jamal Murray had 43 points in that game. Russell Westbrook 21 points in that game. Aaron Gordon 23 points in that game. Porter Jr. 14 points. Of course, Game 7, like I said, how they won this game is because they got help. Aaron Gordon showed up. Aaron Gordon had 22 points. Michael Porter Jr. showed up, 15 points. Jamal Murray, 16 points. Jokic, 16, like I said. Christian Braun, 21 points. And Russell Westbrook off the bench with 16 points. So, again, we keep talking about this. Jokic is going to be Jokic, but if he gets the help, if Jokic gets the help from all the ancillary pieces on that team, Denver is still live. Even against OKC, which they'll be playing right now in the second round of playoffs. So the Clippers, like again, another failure from a franchise that does nothing but fail in the postseason. You have to wonder what's the next move here because the roster, I would say, it's good enough to compete for a title. But you got the sad part for the Clippers here is that you got the healthy Kawhi when you needed to be healthy at the right time, and Kawhi did show up in this game. Kawhi had 22 points, but you know who didn't show up? James Harden. And I'm gonna say something right now to you guys, and we're gonna end this conversation now after I talk about it on this podcast. All this bullshit about James Harden being on Dwayne Wade's level, all-time great and this kind of thing. I think last night put that to bed. Okay, James Harden is not on Dwayne Wade's level. I'm gonna give you a stat here. Okay, that's gonna end this conversation for good. Okay, to all the James Harden fans out there that, and I get James Harden had his stats and he's played more games because he's been more reliable in terms of, just in terms of the, games played because he never gets hurt. I'm gonna show you guys James Harden's last 3 Game 7s. Last 3 Game 7s. All right, so James Harden's last 3 Game 7s. Okay, going back to 2021. 22 points on 5 of 17 shooting and a loss to Milwaukee. This is when he was with the Nets. Okay? All right. 2 years ago in Philly, Game 7 against the Celtics. 9 points on 3-11 shooting. Okay? Last night against the Nuggets, he only scored 7 points on 2 of 8 shooting. Okay? Again, a reminder to shut the fuck up with the James Harden's on Dwayne Wade's level. That's over. I want to hear it, and nothing to do with rings. That's doing showing up when you need your player to show up, and this dude don't show up when you need him to show up. Okay, there's a large sample size of this shit, a very large sample size of this shit, and miss me with the Harden Dwayne Wade takes. We're done. Okay, ain't happening anymore. It's a bad take. It's a horrible take. All right, he's not on level. He's not that good. Okay, he's a Hall of Famer, yes, and he's gonna be one of those. He's one of the all-time greatest scorers all time. He's Carmelo Anthony, bro. He's Carmelo Anthony. He's a great regular season player. But I need him to show up in a Game 7. And by the way, he has help. It ain't like he don't have any help. Like the Houston thing, you can give him a little bit of a pass because the Houston team, outside of Harden was not that great. I mean, on paper anyway. But the last couple teams played on. He's played with Joel Embiid. He's played with fucking Kevin Durant. He's played with Kyrie Irving. He's played with Kawhi Leonard now. What's the excuse now? And by the way, he got healthy Kawhi Leonard. Healthy Kawhi Leonard. What's the excuse now? So again, I don't want to hear about this Dwayne Wade shit. Oh, he's on Dwayne Wade's level. No, he's not. No, he's not. I'm not even saying that because I'm a Heat homer. I'm saying that because it's a fact. James Harden makes his argument easy for me. So miss me with all the James Harden BS. He is not on level, bro. He is not on level at all. All right. All right. As for the second round of playoffs, that kicks off today. We have 2 games today. Like I said, we have the conclusion of the Warriors Rockets series tonight, Game 7. I picked Warriors in 6 when the series started. I think the Warriors will still win this series, despite blowing a 3-1 series lead. And for another reason that I don't trust Houston, I just don't trust them. They're young, They had a nice couple of games here, but now can they stay on the gas though? I don't know. I'm rooting for them. I am. I just don't see it happening. So, you have that game, and then you have, of course, Game 1 of the Pacers and Cavs series. I think Indiana's overrated as shit. Personally, I think Cleveland wins that series in no more than 5 games. Cleveland is for real. I saw what I saw in that Miami series, and I'm sold. Okay, look, do I think they beat Boston overall? If I'm gun in my head, I'm picking Boston in 7 games. But Boston's nicked up though. Jaylen Brown is hurt. They got a little bit of injuries there. And I think Cleveland showed me something these last couple of games against Miami. And I know it's Miami. Miami ain't that good. I get all that. But the thing is, when you play the way they played against the Heat, a Heat team led by Eric Spoelstra, that's still well coached, that still has good players, that's been to the finals, and you embarrass them on the road like that without your second best player, that's saying something. That's a message. So I'm gonna take Cleveland in 5 in that one. The other East series that starts tomorrow night on Monday, that's Celtics and Knicks. I already told y'all how I feel about the Knicks. Knicks fans are crazy. Talking reckless about everything. You guys don't get it, bro. And y'all gonna get reminded when Boston beat y'all asses. Boston in 5. All right, Boston in 5. Tom Total gets canned. That's simple. And look, Knicks fans, get mad at me all you want. I'm rooting for you guys to win the series. I hate the Celtics, but here's the reality. The reality is this: y'all need to show up when it matters. Okay, you guys struggle against Detroit. I'm not knocking Detroit. I'm just saying that y'all struggle against the Detroit team that, so honestly, should win that series. I had you on the sweep. All right, I had you on the sweep because your roster is good enough. No, Boston in 5 in that one. OKC and Denver in the West officially. Now that starts on Tuesday. I'm gonna take OKC win that series, probably in 6. I feel like the OKC is locked in, maybe 5. The thing is, Denver, they need all those ancillary pieces to show up. They need the Westbrooks and the Porter Juniors and all those guys to show up, or else no shot. Because OKC is deep, bro. OKC is deep. So you're gonna give me OKC in 6 for the time being. But that's gonna be a fun series though overall. And then finally, like I said, Minnesota's still waiting the winner of Golden State and Houston. If Minnesota plays Houston, I'm going to take Minnesota in 5. If Minnesota plays Golden State, I'm taking Minnesota in 7. Yeah, that sounds about right. So there's my second round predictions for the. Obviously, I can alter the Warriors Rockets thing depending on any injuries come out of that series, Game 7, of course. So there's that when it comes to the second round of playoff. So another story we're following too in this NBA playoff, situation. LeBron James and the Lakers out in 5 games in Minnesota, as mentioned a while ago. And the narrative is about LeBron now in the last couple of days is, he's 40 years old. Still a great player. He had a really great year. I think he averaged 24, 8, and 7 this year. At age 40, which is fantastic. The Lakers, I thought, overachieved this year as a team, considering also where they were and what they did this winter. Training for Luka Doncic, which was not really thought of to help the team in the immediate, but more so to help the team for the future and give them their next star as LeBron exits stage right. But the Lakers did overachieve as a 3 seed this year, and people thought, well, maybe the Lakers can actually make a run to the conference finals, and maybe if they catch a break or two, the NBA finals. But they're out in 5 games in Minnesota. And it now brings up the question about LeBron and his future. He has 1 more year left on his he has a player option on his contract currently, the Lakers, which sources have said that he will likely opt in of that deal, which makes sense. I think at $52 million. But the question now too, also, and a lot of the narratives around this too, also has been, should LeBron retire? And there's a lot of people I talk to, and people I listen on sports radio, and people in the media and on YouTube, and having videos, and a lot of momentum for people that want LeBron to just go. And I don't understand why. Like, he isn't the reason they lost that series. Now, look, he didn't play great down the stretch a couple of games, but there was some really bad coaching things that happened there, especially in game 4, where JJ Redick played his starters all 24 minutes in the second half of the game. It was game 4, and that was not very bright by JJ Redick. And by the way, JJ Redick, for the record, people saying should he lose his job? No, he actually, again, Lakers overachieved this year. He did a good job. It's a bad playoff run. And look, you can't keep trading coaches here and there every single time and think you're gonna get it right. Like, it doesn't work. Like, can we stop? Like, can you keep a guy for a little while and make sure it fails first before you actually can him? You know what I mean? Because obviously you train a coach every 2-3 years, it has not worked for you guys. You know what I'm saying? That's not worked. It's undone. It's undone. Hasn't had the desired effect. You know what I mean? But there is a conversation about LeBron and should he retire, and to me, it's like, no. Why should LeBron James retire? He's still. I mean, if you really break it down, how this year played, he's still a top 10 player in the league. He played like a top 10 player this year. There was a point, probably up until like early to mid-March, where, and look, he had no chance to win the MVP, but because it was obviously SGA and Jokic for MVP all year long. That was the race. But there was a conversation for a while where LeBron was actually getting some chatter as the third guy in the race. I think I remember mentioning that on this podcast back in March, where if you went on the on look at a couple of the futures for for MVP, like a couple of the live bets going, like he had SGA 1, Jokic 2, and then granted it was a plus 20,000, whatever I think it was at the time, but it was a long shot bet for LeBron James, but he was the third guy on the list. And that's a testament to how great he was this year and how, again, the Lakers overachieved. Now, should he retire? No. But he has to adjust. He has to relinquish the team to Luka. I think if this team currently constructed is going to flourish moving forward for the next year or so as LeBron continues to age gracefully, there has to be a conscientious effort. Thank you, that word, for LeBron to allow Luka, who's, let's be clear here, is the better player right now at this stage of his career versus him. Okay, he needs to be the lead dog going forward. LeBron can still be the core guy, but LeBron James is much more effective right now at age 40, and it behooves him to do this, to be the number 2, and I would even dare say number 3 guy. I think LeBron James if LeBron James is your third option, given how good he was this year, I think you're in a good place. If I'm assuming the other 2 guys are better, clearly better, if you have Luka and another piece, let's say you get Luka and Giannis, for example. Just throwing it out there because Giannis is speculation about Giannis' future. That can work. It could definitely work. But it has to make sense. But for LeBron to retire, like, I don't understand why people are so hell bent on getting this guy out of the league. I don't understand why. And I know some people like go like his politics and some things he does, and he flops and whines. Blah, 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 blah. We're never gonna see this again, bro. Age 40. This dude's age 40. I'm not sure defending the guy like he's the greatest of all time. He's number 2 on my list, behind Jordan, which is not, again, being number 2 is not bad for the record. I mean, you had thousands of players playing this league across generations, and we're telling you're number 2 all time. That should be a compliment, not an insult. But I think it's very disturbing seeing people saying that he should retire. Like, he's not. This is not Vince Carter when he aged and was a role player. LeBron James is still a core player, still a top 10 player in the league right now. And we're trying to just get rid of him because he's just old. Like, stop. Like, what are we doing? It's ridiculous. So I'm not with that at all. But I do think he does need to elevate Luka and probably even another star. And LeBron will be way more effective as the number 2 in me, and I would even dare say number 3 role in the pecking order, whatever team he goes to, or if he's to the Lakers. I think we'll opt in. I think he'll get another year LeBron. Although I will say this, I will not be surprised if next year is LeBron James' final year in the NBA. In fact, I'm actually leaning. I've had to put a percentage on it. Honestly, I will put it at 60% chance that next season, when LeBron opts in his contract, this is his final year in the NBA. I think he'll do the whole retirement tour next season, and that'll be the whole thing. And it'll be year, 23? I think it is 23, 24. But I think next year is most likely LeBron James' final year. And look, however many people LeBron James and whatnot, I wish people would appreciate this guy, what he's brought to the game. So many things negative. I disagree with that. But the guy has been nothing short of a great ambassador to the NBA, and I am thankful for LeBron James, even with some of my personal issues with him in terms of how he left Miami and this and that, and that. He has not hurt anybody. Okay, so stop. All right. Final thing we get out of here. And we saw some. You talk about a guy leaving the game possibly. Greg Popovich is stepping down as Spurs head coach after 29 years. You guys know I'm a huge Pop guy. I think personally, for me, I know the rings don't say. I know the rings will tell you Phil Jackson is the greatest of all time. Some folks might say Pat Riley's the greatest of all time. I think Greg Popovich, what he has done with San Antonio in these 29 years is way more impressive than what Phil Jackson did in Chicago. I've defended this for about 12, 13 years now. That what Pop has done with the Spurs team and redefined it so many times is a lot more challenging than what Phil Jackson did with Chicago and with LA. Like, Phil Jackson, for me, is a great, he's a guy that can take elite talent that hasn't quite figured it out. He insert Phil Jackson's situation that he did in Chicago and elevate the Bulls to greater heights. He did the same thing in LA. So, in Chicago, for example, the Bulls were a title contender, couldn't quite get past Detroit. Jordan and Pippen can get past Detroit, and then Phil Jackson gets there, or rather elevated from assistant coach to head coach, and all of a sudden the Bulls win 6 titles in Chicago. The Lakers in the late 90s with Kobe and Shaq, young Kobe and Shaq, they had a situation where they were in the conversation, same like the Bulls, conference finals against Utah. They were right there in the mix. Phil Jackson comes to LA the very next year, and not the Knicks, the Jazz, sorry, elevated that Laker team, and they won 5 titles with combination of Kobe and Shaq, and then Kobe in the back end. So that's Phil Jackson's thing. But Phil Jackson's never taken a team from scratch. He's never taken a team from scratch and made it great. Greg Popovich has not only done that, he's also reconfigured the same team for years to keep him relevant, which I think is even tougher. Especially when considering the league's changed so much in these 3 decades he's been involved. To me, it's much more impressive that he did that. The rings, obviously the rings matter, and people are going to say, well, Phil's the greatest all time of the rings, and I'm not going to knock you and say that, I get it. But I think when you look into the context of it all, I think Greg Popovich is just a much better coach than Phil Jackson is, personally, in my opinion. So for me, with his health issues, obviously this is coming. I was hoping that he could squeeze one more year out of this, obviously getting a chance to coach a guy in Wembanyama who looks like he's going to be a generational player for years to come. Hoping he can get that out. Get maybe one more title before he retires. As he's now in the mid-70s, but with health issues as of late, I know he lost his wife years ago. So there's a lot going on there. So he's still on board as president of the team, but as head coach, he's gone. So salute to Greg Popovich, who I believe, to me personally, is the greatest NBA coach of all time. So that will do it for this podcast. Again, dated May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Sunday, May 4th, 2025. Enjoy us in the playoffs. Look out for more podcasts throughout the week. And until the next one, we will talk to you guys soon. Again, check out the show on YouTube at Earnestly Pod on YouTube. We now cross 400 subscribers. Continue subscribing and downloading the show on audio side as well, too, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Google Podcasts, you name it, Amazon. And, of course, the clips of the show. Check out the show as well on Instagram at Earnestly Pod, on TikTok at Earnestly Pod, And until the next one, we will talk to you guys soon. God bless y'all. And until next